Well, my friends, it is day number 2 of our midday routine. And hopefully day number 2 will be our last day, because I have an idea, and you're not going to laugh at me for this idea. You're not allowed to laugh at me for this idea. You're just going to bear with me and see if it works. So don't forget that I am my father's son. I am, in fact, my father's son. And I don't think that will ever be more obvious than the video you're going to see today. I hope that you'll stick around long enough to see if my dad has, in fact, rubbed off on me enough to where I can make something magical happen using, ready for this? Using, oh my gosh, hay string. I'll be using hay string to make the magic happen. And remember, I am my father's son. Nothing wrong with that, y'all. That's normally what happens. And then, like I said, I'm not really leading Val. She's mostly leading me. I'm trying to have a little bit tighter grip up on her lead, but her strides are so darn big. Easy, easy, sweetie. No. I'll just walk in a circle if I have to. I cannot let her be leading me. I do have an idea, friends, and I'm excited to show you my idea. I don't know if it's going to work. Val thinks it might. And I will say that I suggested the idea of using the round pin yesterday, and a lot of you guys loved it. However, I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? After I measured all of our round pin, it's not really going to be enough to do the intended purpose. So I have another idea. Val, easy, sweetie. Come over here. Come here. Y'all give me a moment. Now, if you're under the impression that I'm going to use hay string like this, no, sorry to disappoint you. But do not think for a minute I did not think about it, because I have thought about it. But my worry with this is that it's too thin and the horses might not be able to see it. And in fact, if they run into this, it could actually cut them. So a friend of the channel let me know that a lot of times there's many people who can contain a horse by a simple strand of some kind of a string or even wire. And so they did not recommend using barbed wire. I have tons of that, but they said that can sometimes lead to, incidents. But I have a whole lot of fishing line that I used back when I had my boat. I go to my shop, I start digging things out, and friends, I think I may have a solution. Let me show you. So this here is like nylon twine, not twine, this is like a nylon rope. This is like a rope. The hardest thing about using it is finding the end of it. It's almost impossible to ever find the end of it. And if you find the end of it, you're doing good. See, there's one end of it right there, but that is the wrong end. That's the backside end, I believe. And I can never find the end of it. See, that's the backside end right there. I need the other side end where I can uncoil this stuff without making a big mess. Now, I do not have a tripod with me, but you don't really need one when you have hay. So now you can see how easily I tied that little knot right there. Come with me, because this knot that I just now tied, this little bow, is going to come in very important here in the next couple of minutes, if I do want this wire to stay tight. This hay makes a great tripod. There's that knot that I tied on the end of my rope a couple of seconds ago. I'm going to take the loose end. My knot is already loosening up. It's okay though, because look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take and run my rope through there. And this is how I'm going to be able to use this and pull this string so darn tight, friends. It's going to be pulled so darn tight that the horses are not going to be able to push through it. Now, there might be some people who think that this is a very foolish idea. And all I have to say to those people is that who's the real fool? Because these horses will only be in this pasture for about 10 more days. And in 10 days, why would anyone really go through all of that work of having to move and set up all of those very heavy round pen panels if in fact we can go to our supply room and grab some old cordage that we haven't used for anything? All I have to do is buy a couple of bungee cords for my gate. You heard me right, a bungee corded gate. All right, I'm using my knot that I created to pull this nice and tight. And you know the cool thing about this is I still have another couple of 100 foot of this rope. So if I need to even double it, I could always do that. Now, in case anyone is wondering where I learned to do knots, I would like to say that I was an Eagle Scout, but that would be a lie. The fact of the matter is I was a Royal Ranger. You heard me right, I was a Royal Ranger. And the leader of our Royal Ranger group was wonderful. He taught us so many wonderful things about how to survive in nature. However, the last lesson he ever taught us was what not to do when you're a pastor of a church. Because the pastor of the church ended up sleeping with the church secretary, both of which were married. Oh boy, I know I've done got it going now. No, he was an amazing fella with what he taught us boys when it came to tying knots and surviving in the wilderness. But I'll tell you what, when it came to other types of matters, yeah, this fella ended up finding himself sneaking off to the parsonage with the church secretary one too many times. And then she feels guilty. Listen, it's the secretary who felt guilty, not the pastor, but the secretary felt guilty and ran off and told everybody. Shouldn't the pastor be the one to feel guilty? Anyway, I was never led astray, guys. I was never led astray. Not too much. I was not that corrupted by all of that. It was sad because I really liked that fella, but the church ran him off real fast. And that was the end of my Royal Rangering experience, which means if you have a problem with any of this over here, if you have a problem with any of this, just know I'm not really to blame. I was a Royal Ranger. That program ended a little bit early though. All right, let that be a shout out to my former Royal Ranger instructor. What I was unable to learn from you once you up and left us all, don't worry, I went off and taught myself. While we're working, I want to tell you a joke. So a piece of string had a really rough day, and he walks inside of a bar to have a drink. Bartender walks up, he goes, "Can I help you?" And that little piece of string goes, "I'd like a beer, please." And that bartender looks at him, he goes, "We don't serve string here. Get out, get out." Man, what a jerk. That poor little string walks outside, and he's kind of not real sure why that bartender was so darn rude. And at some point, that string starts thinking about it. He goes, "You know what? I want me a beer. I'm going to have a beer no matter what." So that piece of string takes his cap off and kind of like, frazzles his hair all up. This time he walks back inside that bar with some attitude, sits back down at that bar. "Bartender, bring me a beer." And that bartender's like, "Excuse me? I done told you, we don't serve string here." And he looks at that bartender and he goes, "String? I'm afraid not." afraid not. Blame that on my pastor, who was also the adulterer. All right, so I'm not gonna say I'm real pleased with my gate system, but I did spend $9 on bungee cord, so we're gonna at least try it out. Everything else though, guys, I think is gonna rock. I got a double layer of a thick rope around the entire thing, all the way from the far fence line, underneath the barn, all the way to the front of the barn, or down this side of the barn. And that means our horses will now have access, even during the heat of the day and at night. They'll have access to shelter. They'll have their water trough. They have their big water trough, and I'm also keeping one over here, a little extra water trough filled up for them. And I do that because I've noticed when the water filler, the bubble filler comes on, the float, it scares them. They get spooked. So that's fine. I'll just keep this water over here filled up. They do have their horse hay there. And there's a little bit of shade under that tree where it's a little bit of grass is growing. They kind of feel like they're grazing, even though they're not really out onto the big pasture. All right, so this is what we're gonna try out. As of right now, I already have the horses where I want them inside the red barn, but we will be putting this to test tomorrow and maybe even overnight tonight. I look forward to seeing how everything works. So the last thing that I wanted to do was go by and put some little flappy pieces of tape on there. And so that will help the horses kind of be able to visually see what I've done and not accidentally run through it. What you don't want to have happen is the horses start playing around and not see this. Now remember, it's just rope, so it's going to give. It's not going to cut into anybody or hurt anyone. But what I don't want to have happen is the horses run into it. So that's what we're going to do. Well, if you've watched this far into the video, I'm hoping you must enjoy the content we're putting out. The best thing you can do to support us is to click that like button as you leave. That'll help YouTube understand that we're a legit channel, that we put out good quality content, and then that will help promote our page and get us recommended to new people so our page can grow. Thank you for all that you do for us, especially for the time you spend. We're very blessed to have you, friends. And we will catch you guys on the next video.
Don't let your troubles fester. Come watch Longhorn Lester.
Yeah, something like that.